Ooh. Another guitar video, this time on GLARRY. Look at this. A new GLARRY Telecaster thin line. This is sexy. Hey everyone, I'm Dave with Beast Made Reviews, of course, a channel dedicated to reviewing quality at different price points. Now, I love guitar. Of course, I have a few different videos on guitar. Guitars of different price points. I have one video on guitar that did really well on the channel. I did it about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and that was on the GLARRY guitars. I had a Strat guitar that I got from them. They sent that to me for a review. And then they emailed me recently asking me if I could make another video for them. And I saw that they had this thin line telly in this beautiful orange sickle, creamsicle orange that is just beautiful. And of course I said yes. I love Telecasters. And I just recently got a very, very good Telecaster for myself. And since then, I've just really fallen in love with Telecasters, especially thin line Telecasters. And I wanted to do a follow-up video on this with GLARRY, kind of talk about my thoughts about this guitar in particular, as well as maybe if they've changed anything with quality with this one compared to my last one. But definitely check out my previous video if you haven't already. But with that out of the way, I'm going to talk about this. And this one is about $120, and that is a steal for a price. It is more money than the other GLARRY that I got, which I think was about $75. This one is more money. I think partly because this one is bound. It has, it's semi-hollow like a thin line is. I think that's part of the extra cost here. All that considered, this is still really cheap. So I don't have any complaints here. Of course, they did send this to me for review, but they're not telling me anything to say. So these are all my honest thoughts here. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and get to this review. All right, first let's go over the unboxing real quick. And this is pretty much how I got it straight out of the box. This is the usual stuff that you'll see from GLARRY. There's a gig bag that they include, which I think is always great, though this is very flimsy. It's more of just a dust cover. There's a product catalog that kind of just shows some of their products that they have here. And they also have a free cable, a pick, tools, and a strap. Again, none of these are that great necessarily, but the fact that they're giving this for free, I think is a great win here. Now, this guitar is surprisingly beautiful. I was not expecting to like it this much. It is great. I love the color. It's a perfect creamsicle color. There's a pearloid pickguard, of course. It's a basswood body with a maple neck, single coil pickups, three-way toggle switch, volume and tone, but a black switch tip. This is definitely a criticism for me. Why didn't they go with a white one? Maybe they wanted it to match the pickup, which is also black, which is a funny choice. Now, this is a thin line telly, so it is semi-hollow. There's an F-hole here. There's no binding on the F-hole. I was not expecting that necessarily, but there is binding on the body. I don't really know if this is painted or if it's real binding. I don't necessarily care either way. Binding is binding, and it looks great either way. The knobs and the electronics feel fine when you turn them, which is great, which is an improvement over my previous GLARRY. The hardware looks a little cheap, of course, but it works. There are 3 straight steel saddles, and I'm not sure if these are actual steel or if it's just pot metal. I didn't hold up a magnet to check. It has a very fat neck, I find. They say it's a C shape, and they might be right. It feels really thick. My previous GLARRY felt kind of like a soft V, and this is pretty similar to that one, I would say. These GLARRYs have some of the fattest necks I've ever played, and I am personally okay with that. I like a fat neck. Some people like thin necks. It's just personal preference, really. The neck, of course, is made of maple, and it's a maple cap neck with no skunk stripe for the truss rod, and it has a very high action straight from the factory. Very, very high from the nut down. So you definitely need to set this up. And looking at the nut actually is cut well for what it is. It looks good. It's plastic, but it's better than my previous GLARRY where the nut slots were all cut the same width. The fretboard is a 12-inch radius and has a slight chamfer on the side edge there, almost a roll, and I'll take that. The frets are very good for this price point. There's no sprout or sharp ends at all, and there's no obvious high spots, though I haven't really checked all up and down the neck. Now, there are some issues with this guitar. It is an inexpensive guitar. It's $120, $130 as it is, so you have to kind of expect some issues here. But to be honest, I don't find they're that huge. Of course, there is the switch tip and the pickup color that I was telling you about earlier. That's kind of a preference thing, an aesthetic thing. Some of the edges on the pick guard are kind of rough. The tuners are pretty bad. The pickups don't sound good. They sound pretty bad. The bridge is really harsh, and the neck is very muffled and woofy. There's tuning issues from the straight saddles and from the tuners, of course, and that's even after a setup and intonation. There's finish issues on the binding. You can see a little bit of paint on there. There's some rough spots here and there, other small finish issues with paint or buffing. But overall, I still think this is a great guitar and a steal, a great value. For $120, you really can't expect perfection, and you have to be okay with minor flaws. I personally would definitely replace the nut and the saddles for brass compensated saddles. I would replace the tuners for cheap Godot tuners. And if you want to play this out and you want it to sound good, I would definitely change the pickups. But I will say this guitar is a lot better than my previous GLARRY. And the issues that I'm finding here still aren't super obvious. You really kind of have to just look at it with a sharp eye. Beside the action being very high and needing a setup right out of the box, it's a very playable guitar. It's lightweight, and I find that it's very beautiful for what it is. It's a beautiful color. It's a great guitar for what you get, and I can highly recommend it. But with that said, let's go ahead and get to some sound samples here. Probably not my best playing here, but I think you can get the point. We'll go through some clean and some overdriven settings. All of this is recorded straight from my Line 6 Helix. I'll have my signal chain from the patch in the description box below. So those are my thoughts. What do you think? I'd love to know what you think down in the comments down below. Have you tried GLARRY? Have you tried this one? And what do you think of Thin Line Tellies? What do you think of this one? I really like this one, guys. I think this is a winner. Even though it's an inexpensive one, I really think it is a winner. Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. I love you for it. I'll see you next time. I'm Dave with Beastmade Reviews. Bye.